Hello there. Welcome, this is Seb the Cat. Today we are working on a 2D multiplayer split screen game, which is targeting mobile. So it's kind of unique that I haven't really seen many games on mobile that use split screen. I guess for the obvious reason you don't have a lot of screen real estate, so you kind of have to keep the graphics pretty simple, easy to read from afar. So it's broadly using a monochromatic palette with some glow effects. I managed to do some new Let's bring me back here. Okay, so what I've done here is I've created this canvas layer and added a hello robotic head, how's it going? We've got a color rect here, and I've put a simple shader to give it the effect of like an old school arcade machine. I've also gone into the world and added a world environment and some canvas modulate layer, and so that is essentially just going to darken the entire game world using this modulation of about half, and that has allowed me to a little bit more space to use lighting. Right, so by canvas modulating the world darker by about 50%, I can now use lights a little better. So what I thought was really cool with the lights is if I jump into my player scene, I have a colored light, which is quite a broad color. It's quite a large light. And then I created a smaller white light that goes on top of it, which has a smaller radius. And I feel like that has really given the game the effect I've been going for. Also, I managed to figure out how to do the multi-touch on buttons. So, unfortunately, Godot out of the box doesn't support multi-touch on the buttons. So instead, what I've done, actually I can bring this out here. Okay, so I've essentially implemented my own multi-touch button system here in this class. So what we do is we actually disable the button mouse events entirely, and then we switch entirely to touch events only, and we basically listen on the input hook for any event that's a screen touch, and if it's over our global rectangle, the size of the button, we actually save the finger that's touching the current button, and then we allow we also listen to the release of that finger. So whenever the release of that finger, that touch index is going to represent which finger is responsible for the event. And so this allows you to push the button, drag your finger off the button, and actually release off the button and still trigger the event correctly. So yeah, that is working really well, and so the control scheme is finally fixed on mobile, which was driving me a little bit insane. It was took me quite a while to figure that one out. Cool. Otherwise, I've just made a few tweaks here and there. Nothing major. There's one thing that I wanted to bring back down. Cool, so let's have a look at the new visuals.
Phase 1. Collect stars and weapons.
As you can see, we've got this really delicate, well, it's not that delicate, but like we've got this sort of soft red glow and green glow representing each player. And you've now got these touch controls, and you can see the sort of old screen effect on the edges, just curving those edges and adding a little bit of distortion. Oh yeah, so there are new sound effects for the engines. I wasn't quite happy, and I've redone the particle effects for the engines as well. So you can see there's a little bit of a flare now instead of the sort of putt-putt, and those sounds have been updated. Thank you. Yeah, I think it's an interesting little effect, and it does seem to be working quite well. So cool. All right. So the first thing on my list of things to do before we release our alpha test. And if you're interested in being part of that test, you will get a free copy of the game when it releases. But you just need to download the alpha and give it a test, give us some feedback before it goes live. So jump into the Discord channel if you're interested in being part of that test. I know I'd certainly appreciate any feedback I can get. So that would be a great help, and obviously you end up with a free game at the end of it. So win-win if you ask me. Cool. So also one thing that I've done off stream is I've gone through the levels, and I've actually just made a few adjustments, essentially making most of the levels more spacious in areas, getting rid of about half the stars. I think that was I think it was getting a bit crowded there, so I think also having less stars means the games are not going to last quite as long, and they're going to be a little quicker to get through, which I think is nice. All right, so the first thing on my list is something really easy that we can fix. It's just, for some reason, when the player loses a star, it doesn't seem to have the right opacity. So our star is in our collectibles scene. Let's have a look. All right, so we got the star. And what happens is when the player gets hit or damaged, we throw out a number of stars. And I'm not sure. Let's have a look where that code is. Shoot away star. There you go. So when we shoot away the star, we create an instance of it and we initialize it with ourselves, and then we tell it to either shatter or shoot away. Shatter is basically a 50% chance of the star dying permanently, and there's a 50% chance that the star will actually respawn after a certain amount of time. So that's sort of an interesting mechanic, because when you damage your opponent, you can choose to continue to focus on hurting them, or you can chase after the stars, but they're not guaranteed. Okay, so when we initialize our star, we're setting the position to be the same as the player, and we're then adding the star as a sibling to the tree. So getting the parent of the player and adding the star as a child. And then when we shoot away, we've got this like invincibility time. Which is interesting. I guess we kind of want to set this randomly. So let's call this func set invincibility. Invincibility. Yep. Nope. Close. Jesus Christ. Okay. So that's going to essentially set our invincibility to a random time. And when we init, we may as well do that randomly here. In fact, we can do it up here instead. Okay, and in fact, we can set our rotation randomly as well. And in fact, this is the same function, so we can get rid of that. Cool. All right, so one thing that I've noticed isn't quite working is the fade in effect. So we've got this light, which seems to be, just add some additional layers there. We've also got some new particle effects on the stars, but probably won't notice that. So this faded out opacity doesn't really seem to be working very well. Faded out opacity. Okay, let's see if that works. Something's wrong. Oh yeah, we can get rid of this. One really cool thing that I didn't notice about Godot is that when you come across a bug, you can actually just fix the bug inline and then just unpause the game and it will keep running. Which is quite cool. Alright, that's interesting. So now, for some reason, the stars are not getting picked up. So that looks like an issue with the code that I've just changed. I think the script is probably just not compiling. What is our debugger telling us? Set amount. Reload method failed. Okay. Alright, so is it our shoot away perhaps? I'll get rid of this now. Okay. Notice this light is really quite